So the second card that we're going to create is this little beachy wave card here. So the very first step, let's do our water. So for this one, I'm actually going to pull my paper out a little bit because I want to make sure, let me get the stamps or the magnets in place. I want to make sure there's little bevels on the edges of these stamps, and I want to make sure that my water goes within my cardstock piece. So I want to allow for that little bevel there. So I'm going to put my stamp where I want it to be. I'm trying to keep the horizon as horizontal across as I can visually. And now I'm going to stamp. So this one here, I'm using all distress inks because I want there to be a little bit of a translucent quality to it, simply because we're doing water. Now it's a little bit blotchy. I'm going to lift this up a little bit. Sometimes when you've used or created something in here with this media grip, you need to make sure that it doesn't wrinkle. And I find sometimes after using a little bit, it wrinkles and it affects your stamping a bit. So hopefully I put that in the same spot, pretty close. And when I stamp, I'm tapping up and down. If I were to go like this, you'd see streaks and smears when you put your ink down. So that's the reason I tap my ink on. Sometimes I will swirl it around a little bit to start, and then I will go back and tap it. I'm gonna do it one more time to get a little bit more coverage. I'm going to move those magnets. Sometimes these magnets are just a touch thick when you're using clear stamps. I have them wrapped in washi tape because it gives it a little bit more grip, and if I were to let go of them and they would attract to each other, sometimes they can break. So it's a little bit of a safety thing. If by chance one happens to break, it's all wrapped up in washi tape. So now I'm going to grab my second wave or second layer. And I'm just making sure that horizon is in the same spot for my stamp. The bottom part will not match up, and it's not intended to. And now let's go to my next darker color. So sometimes I'll do this, and then I will tap it up and down just to get the streaks and smears out of there. I'm going to do it one more time, get a little bit more ink on there. And you can do this as many times as you want or need to build that ink color up. There we go. And then let's get my last color. Now this one, I'm not cleaning it up or cleaning each stamp as I go, because I'm not going back and using them with a different ink. If I were, I would be cleaning them. What you do want to do is, once you're done using your set, then clean it. Make sure that it's clean for the next time you're using it. Love that dark color. Now I actually had my stamp a little bit too low, so I'm going to put it, I'm going to reposition it and put it up a little bit. Try that. I'm going to move that that down there, just in case it's interfering with my stamping up there. There we go. All right. Now, before I do the next step, I'm going to take this piece of paper out, and I created a mask for filling in the sanded area here. So the way I did that is I took a Post-it note and I put it so the sticky side was facing down, because I want my edge to be where the sticky side of that Post-it is. And I'm just going to take my wide silhouette and just stamp it with the light color. And it really only needs to be inked along the edges, because that's the part that I'm interested in. And then just stamp it. And then I'm just going to cut it along that edge, and I left a little bit of white space out because of the white foamy part of the water, but that's how you get that mask and get the shape for it that you're wanting. This can be put aside for the moment. So we'll start with the sand. So I'm going to put that on there. It's not going to match exactly because I left that little space for white. So I'm taking some antique linen, which is just a really light tan. I'm going to start on top of the paper and then work my way down. And I'm trying to get the ink darkest by the edge of the water. And then lighter towards the bottom. Mainly because the sand on the edge of the water is going to be wet, it's going to be darker. So there we go. And that, like I said, that white space is completely intentional. If you don't want to have that white space, you could take your inks and, or sorry, when you're cutting your edge there, wrong one, you can cut it even closer to that to get it an exact match. But like I said, I did that intentionally. I wanted that there. And then for the top part, I'm just going to use a different Post-it note, put it on the horizon there, and I'm going to ink my little sunset. And I'm just holding my cardstock piece in place. If you're worried about it moving and you're not comfortable with just holding it in place, you could take a piece of tape underneath this part here and hold it in place. But for this particular design, just holding it is good enough, especially since you're holding it right on top of a Post-it note. You're not necessarily going to get fingerprints or anything on it. And yes, that blue is blotchy, but I'm just going to keep blending it to mix it in, to blend that color with the purple a little bit and to even that out. You notice I didn't have that issue with the other brushes. It's just this one, it seems. Which is interesting, but lesson learned. So there we go. So there we have our background. I'll see you in the next video and we will finish the rest of the card.